You baby-proofed the outlets. You bought the developmental toys with the suction cups and the primary colors. You've got 17 tabs open comparing milestone charts at M. Cross-referencing is this normal against 100 different apps and forums. Here's the uncomfortable truth. None of that tells you what you actually need to know. Milestone charts are useful, but they're built for populations, not for your baby. And the thing that actually predicts healthy development isn't a checklist item at all. It's something quieter, something that doesn't show up on any app, that no toy company sells, and that most parents walk right past a dozen times a day without realizing it's happening. Researchers who study early childhood developmental psychologists at places like Harvard's Center on the Developing Child have spent decades trying to answer a deceptively simple question. How do you actually know, in the day-to-day, whether a baby's brain and body are on track? Not in a clinical sense, not with instruments and percentile curves, but in the small, ordinary moments of a Tuesday afternoon. And what they keep finding, over and over, across different labs and different decades, is that healthy development leaves fingerprints. Not one dramatic sign, not a single magic milestone you either hit or miss. A pattern, a handful of small, visible behaviors that, together, tell a much more honest story than any chart alone. Some of these signs are things you've probably already seen and dismissed as just something babies do. Some of them will surprise you, because they don't look like development at all. One of them, in particular, tends to worry parents the most right when it should be reassuring them. So before you close another tab or reorganize the toy shelf one more time, let's talk about what actually matters. 5 signs, backed by real developmental research, that your baby's growth is right on track, including the one almost every parent misreads. Let's start with the first sign, because it's the one that trips people up the most. Your baby doesn't need to be doing something new every week to be developing normally. Development isn't a staircase. It's more like weather. It moves in waves, plateaus, sudden bursts, quiet stretches. A baby who seems stuck for 2 or 3 weeks and then suddenly rolls, babbles, or reaches in a whole new way isn't behind. That pause was the work. The brain was building the wiring underneath, and the visible skill just hadn't surfaced yet. Picture this. Your baby is on the playmat, same as every day this week. Nothing new. She just lies there, kicking, staring at her hands like they belong to someone else. It looks like nothing, but she's tracking her own movement, building the connection between I intend to move and I moved. That's not stalling. That's construction. Researchers at Harvard's Center on the Developing Child describe this as serve and return, the back and forth between a baby's signals and the world's response, happening constantly, even in stillness. One of their clearest findings, what predicts healthy brain architecture isn't the pace of milestones. It's the consistency of responsive interaction around the baby, day after day, whether that's a stare, a coo, or a hand reach. And here's the part that should genuinely relieve you. This finding holds up regardless of income, family structure, or how many educational toys are in the house. A single caregiver responding warmly to a baby's cues in a small apartment builds the same kind of neural scaffolding as a house full of imported wooden blocks. The toy shelf isn't what's being measured. The relationship is. So sign 1. In plain language, normal development includes plateaus. If your baby seems to be doing the same thing for a while, that's very likely not stagnation. It's the invisible phase before the visible leap. Watching for steady engagement, not weekly novelty, is the more accurate way to read what's actually happening underneath. There's a study from the 1970s that still shapes how we think about this, and it's worth telling properly, because it changed the field. Psychologist Edward Tronick set up an experiment now known as the still face experiment. A mother sits with her baby, playing normally, smiling, responding, the usual back and forth. Then, on cue, she stops. Her face goes blank. No smile. No response, nothing. Just stillness. Within seconds, the baby notices. He reaches toward her. He smiles harder, trying to pull her back in. When that doesn't work, he escalates, waving, vocalizing, sometimes crying. This is the disruption phase, and it's genuinely hard to watch. The baby is working actively to repair the connection. Then the mother resumes, smiles again, responds again, and within moments, the baby recovers, calms, reconnects. Resolution. What Tronic's work revealed wasn't that babies need perfect, constant attention. It's the opposite. Babies are wired to handle disruption, as long as repair reliably follows. The emotional takeaway here isn't about guilt over the moments you're distracted, tired, or scrolling your phone. It's about trust. Your baby is building a working model of the world that says, connection comes back. That resilience is itself a sign of healthy development. So here's what to actually do with this. Starting today. 1. Practice deliberate serve and return. When your baby makes a sound or a face, respond within a few seconds, even just with your own face. Say something like, "Oh, you saw that? Tell me more." 2. Narrate ordinary moments. Not constantly, just sometimes. "I'm picking you up now. Here we go." This builds language exposure without any flashcards. 3. After a distracted stretch, actively re-engage. Get close, make eye contact and say, "Hey, I'm back. Look at you." That repair moment matters more than the gap before it. 4. Resist the urge to compare week to week. Instead, ask monthly, is she generally more responsive, more coordinated, more vocal than a month ago? That's the real signal. Here's where it's worth being honest about something the baby product industry doesn't want you thinking about. None of this costs anything. Not the responsive smiling, not the narrating, not the eye contact after a distracted moment. Meanwhile, there's an entire industry built around convincing you otherwise. Flashcard sets promising early literacy, subscription boxes of brain-building toys, apps that track engagement like it's a stock portfolio. Some of these things are fine. None of them are necessary. The research doesn't point to gadgets. It points to you, your face, your voice, your willingness to show up again after you looked away. That's the actual intervention. It always has been. And if you've made it this far in the video, still watching, still turning this over in your mind, that itself says something about the kind of parent you are. You don't need another chart to prove your baby is developing normally. You need to trust what you're already doing, noticing, responding, coming back. The fact that you're asking the question at all puts you ahead, not behind. If this kind of research-backed, no-pressure look at child development is useful to you, consider subscribing. This channel is built around exactly this. Real science, translated into things you can actually use without the guilt or the gimmicks. And if this one helped, a like goes a long way in getting it in front of other parents asking the same questions you were. So the next time you catch yourself searching, "Is this normal?" at midnight, remember the plateau on the playmat. Remember the still face and the return. Development isn't a staircase you're climbing correctly or incorrectly. It's a conversation one your baby is having with you, in kicks and coos and reaching hands, over and over, all day long. You're not missing the signs. You're already reading them.